Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, this is a continuation of the RPF's RPF. Number 2, accounts of physical maltreatment. Undoubtedly, the physical maltreatment that many people experienced in various RPF programs was a factor in their desire to escape. I hesitate to say that all people experienced physical maltreatment, since one informant who went through the RPF at the Fort Harrison Hotel said that the daily schedule was not bothersome and that he got enough sleep. He admitted, however, that he was not assigned the heavy physical work, but only cleaned and emptied garbage. Other people, however, experienced a wide range of what they considered to be physical abuses. A as in alpha. Excessive exercise, the running program. How many of the Scientology kids have we heard talk about this? Forced running was a universal aspect in the RPF, but leaders also used it as a specific punishment. According to a person who was on the Apollo, Hubbard devised the running program as a punishment against a member whom he thought needed some discipline. He ordered the member to do 50 laps around the promenade deck. The member did about 20 and declared that he had done 50. I remember distinctly, and he got away with it. With the advent of the RPF, running quickly became a standard punishment. The location of the running punishment, of course, varied according to the location of the RPF program. Monica Pignotti, who was in the RPF on the Apollo, wrote a particularly clear description of the running punishment that she experienced in the early months of 1975. We had to scrub down the entire bathroom, including all the bulkheads, walls, and ceilings. After we cleaned an area, it had to pass a white glove inspection. If the glove came up dirty, the person who cleaned the area had to run laps from bow to stern of the ship, about 1/5 of a mile each. One time, when my senior wasn't satisfied with the way I cleaned a bathroom, she ordered me to take a lap. I protested because I thought she was being quite unfair, and her reply was, "Don't Q&A with me. Take 2 laps." I objected again, and she said, "Take 4 laps." This went on until I was up to about 10 laps, which I eventually had to do. They love this power, don't they? Using the technical language of Scientology, Pignotti had been put on rocks and shoals, penalties for Sea Org members. From her Fort Harrison RPF experience, Ann Rosenblum indicated that the rocks and shoals punishments often included sit-ups and push-ups, in addition to running laps up and down the garage ramp. Dennis Ehrlich also reported having to run up and down the parking structure. In the Cedars complex in Los Angeles, rocks and shoals involved running the stairwells or taking laps around the entire complex. The most difficult running punishments apparently took place at either the Gilman Hot Springs or Happy Valley RPF programs, where formerly high-ranking Sea Org members had to run around after a tree or a pole for 12 hours a day. Julie Mayo indicated that she was put on a running program for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and made to run around a tree in all types of extreme desert conditions. Her husband Dave reported that he was forced to run around a tree in the desert in temperatures of up to 110 degrees for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for 3 months. I don't know how more people didn't die from this stuff. Vicky Asnaran made a similar claim about having to run around an orange telephone pole from 7 a.m. until 9:30 p.m. in the evening, with 10-minute rests every 1/2 hour and 30-minute breaks for lunch and dinner. Imagine all the children doing this stuff. And they're doing it right now. B as in Bravo. Physically demanding and tiring chores. Labor was a central aspect to RPF programs, usually involving maintenance and renovation. On the Apollo, RPF inmates performed a number of cleaning jobs, scraping and painting, scrubbing decks, etc. While on the RPF's RPF, Monica Pignotti was made to go down and clean muck from the bilges. That was my job all day long. And I had to clean all this sludge out and then paint it. I was on it for 5 days. While an account from the RPF in East Grinstead spoke about chipping the crust off cooker parts or painting stones, activities such as garbage disposal, and cleaning bathrooms, hallways, and stairways was much more common. Vicky Asnaran reportedly dug ditches, and Pignotti was part of an RPF team that did photo shoots for pictures. Oh, jeez. That appeared in the 1978 publication, What is Scientology? Wow. Jerry Armstrong assembled course packs, but he also performed another common RPF assignment, building renovation. Well, so do the children. In the period around April of 1979, Armstrong worked on a team that was renovating a house that was to be the dwelling of L. Ron Hubbard. Andre Tabayoyan spoke about RPF slave labor, as he called it, building and renovating numerous dwellings and buildings used by Scientology leaders. Wonder if Rinder had one of them. And their movie star friends. The most dramatic renovation accounts came from Pat, whose RPF team, she stated, was involved in major building renovations in Southern California in the 1970s. The pressure kept mounting every day with the renovations. Every day that passed, there was greater pressure to get renovations done, until it got to the point that we were, and I swear to God, this is true, we worked 30 hours on, 3 hours off. We worked shifts on 30 hours at a time. Like I said, I'm surprised more people just didn't drop dead. We would work so many hours, Steve. I remember that I would pass people and we'd be in a dark room with a screw gun, laying drywall in a completely dark room. And I would pass out and I would stop because I saw sparks flying off this thing, and I'd go, "Hey, what's going on?" And the person would just look at me with this dazed look saying, "Oh, I don't know. I'm just looking at the sparks." I mean, we were delusional. We were so tired. I remember trying to construct a sentence and being unable to do so. You know, knowing that I had to say, "I need that screwdriver," and saying, I need that fence for the sandwich that is in purple. I was unable to be at all coherent. Pat's 30-hour work shifts were unusual. Robert Vaughn Young spoke about 12-hour workdays, but Monica Pignotti reported that once she had to work for 36 hours straight with no sleep, because Hubbard had ordered the whole ship to be cleaned. C as in Charlie, poor diet. The heavy workload should have warranted a high-calorie diet, but several of the former RPF inmates complained about the quality of the food. Despite what Tanya Burden identified as an 18-hour workday, she indicated that often she received only rice and beans and water for her meals. Apparently, Nefertiti ate what she called soups or pig's wills, only occasionally flavored with milk. Pat complained that we were fed really dreadful food, which she went on to clarify as very institutional, very poorly prepared, and which included scraps and what was left over. Pignotti reported the common refrain that the RPF cohort ate after the rest of the staff, like the children, was finished, but the leftovers that they ate came from the kitchen and not items found on people's plates. Poor diet may have been a contributing factor to Larry Wollersheim loss of 15 pounds during his 6 weeks on the RPF aboard a ship. I want to know what ship he was on. You guys know why? Days in Delta. Issues of hygiene and medical care. Worn down by a rigorous work schedule and possibly weakened further by marginal diets, RPF members were especially susceptible to illness. On the Apollo, RPF members apparently had trouble keeping their clothes dry. On land, many RPF victims probably had a similar problem, but now the dampness was a result of perspiration from wearing work clothes in hot climates. Hannah Whitfield, for example, complained about having to wear heavy jumpsuits or boiler suits in the hot Florida weather. Despite the obvious need for baths and showers, Whitfield revealed that we were not allowed to shower longer than 30 seconds. While in the RPF, Nefertiti saw firsthand the problems that excessive sweating could cause women, and she included a pertinent story in her recollection of her forcible confinement experience. We all suffered from heavy sweating. I recall this young woman suffering from an important infection which had been developing under her breasts. Instead of healing, the wound had been expanding to such a degree that purulent blisters had reached her navel. Nefertiti was not only the former member to report having seen a woman on the RPF with a severe skin problem. Former member Lori Taverna told city officials in Clearwater, Florida, that she saw a few people who looked very sick, including one who had sores all over her body, open sores. Another medical and hygienic problem that women faced was not having enough cash to buy a box of Tampax. People faced health problems in a variety of areas. David Mayo, for example, claimed that I was refused medical and dental treatment while on the RPF, and after escaping captivity, I lost 6 teeth and required thousands of dollars of dental work to save the rest of my teeth. Most seriously, Andre Tabayoyan recalled working on dangerous machinery, like the children, while on the RPF's RPF and seeing a distressed coworker thrust his finger into the machine, which cut his finger off. That's Daniel Montalvo. He was a child, by the way. I'm going to continue this in a new video.